Thank you. Not you, not you, you, all of you on the other side of this camera for clicking the subscribe button and supporting me across my 3-year and some change journey on YouTube so far. I could not be more thankful for all of you, and this has been a goal of mine for quite some time. If you've been following the channel, you know I've predicted or hoped to get here sooner. So 1 year from now, which is gonna be about a year from my birthday or so, a year from June, I want to have 10,000 YouTube subscribers, which, hey, sounds a little ambitious, I know. I think I can make 10,000 subscribers by May 2023. But nevertheless, I could not be more happy for finally reaching this goal due to all of your guys' continued support. Which is why this week's video, I'm doing a Q&A or question and answer where I gave all of you the opportunity across all my social platforms, including YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, to ask any question you want, within reason, of course. Obviously, don't ask my social security number. I might give it to you if you give me a big enough donation. No, just kidding. But anyway, let's get right into the Q&A, starting with our YouTube comments. Coach BOC asks, which place do you wish you could experience again for the first time? So starting off this video with a zinger. This is such a difficult question to answer because this is a really interesting topic for a multitude of reasons. Should you even want to revisit a place? Because sometimes after that first time, it loses a little bit of its magic or, the novelty, and you can kind of tamper with some potentially like sacred memories. For example, we went to Hawaii, Vanessa and I, for a month for our honeymoon, and it was unequivocally our favorite place we've ever been, when including things like nature, adventure, food, everything that we love about travel. But we revisited the next year for our honeymoon, and we still had a good time, but it was rainy. We redid a lot of the same things, and it wasn't quite as good. We didn't have our own place entirely to ourselves. We were able to stay with someone else, which was actually really incredible, and we were so thankful. But it was like a whole different feeling just being married there for our honeymoon in a new place, perfect weather the entire time, having an entire Airbnb to ourselves with this beautiful balcony, making breakfast, and just totally feeling like we were almost living a mini life with a new home in Hawaii. So if there was any place I could re-experience for the first time, it'd probably be Hawaii because of that magic. It would also probably have to say be visiting Japan, because that was my first time I've ever seriously left the country to go to a place totally different from what I was used to, and it really did change and alter my my outlook and my life goals that one trip. So my two places would definitely be Hawaii and Tokyo, Japan for studying abroad. S. Ranju 23 asks, hee, some of the best US states to visit, not expensive place please. Smiley face. And this is a really good question because it's kind of expensive to travel around America for the most part, unless you go to a city and just walk around. So all things included, my best answer is to visit Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now, Santa Fe I visited back in 2019 when I was actually living in the state of Colorado. And this is an amazing place, number one, culturally, because it has a wonderful, interesting mix of American culture, of Native American, indigenous people culture, and Mexican American culture. And this is exemplified by the architecture with some absolutely beautiful, stunning buildings. It's a very walkable town with lots of free things to do, including different art, streets or exhibits that are seen in public. You can visit some really historical, beautiful churches for as little as $1, and you don't need a rental car to get around because of the walkable component. Like I said, there's lots of cool nature-related things you can do in and around Santa Fe as well. So that being said, I definitely think Santa Fe is an amazing place to visit in America that doesn't have to break the bank by any means necessary. Witty Travels, a great friend of the channel, thank you guys, has asked the question, which country had the most vegetarian/vegan options? Now for country, this is easy, hands down Mexico. When we went to Tulum, it was our first country or place we visited in our big worldwide travel, I guess, I don't know, part of our lives. And I think Tulum is a pretty small area, and we went to, I think, over 20 restaurants in 30 days, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. In Mexico City, we just went to recently and had tons of vegan options. It's a big city, so some of them can be more spread around, but still, I think we went to at least 10 or 12 restaurants in 14 days there. So definitely Mexico, and the food in Mexico is freaking amazing. So that is the best country for vegetarian and vegan options so far. Now, in response to my top things to do in Oregon video, Dajo FD7NR asks, why would anyone take advice about Oregon from someone who can't pronounce it, or can't speak correctly, who can't pronounce it correctly? Oregon. So to respond to this is one of my biggest blunders yet. Arguably the nose picking one in Singapore is getting bigger than that. But anyway, just because someone doesn't pronounce a name correctly doesn't mean they don't have good and practical advice. Maybe it can show that they're not the ultimate expert if they can't pronounce the location correctly, so I do own that, but I still stand by all my recommendations. And if you want to have a good time in Oregon, check out that video. Andy-ZR3MP asks, how can you decide so fast on hate? How long you been in Malaysia? Now, I spent about 5 days in Malaysia, and this is in response to my 5 things I kind of hate about Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And I don't hate Malaysia by any means necessary. These were just some observations I made. If you've checked out the video, you know. And I still love Kuala Lumpur and would recommend people to visit, but is it my favorite place in regards to some of the things I criticized? Maybe like the shopping malls or some of like the cleanliness or that sort of thing. No, but hey, every place has its pros and cons, and I still love Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia. I did not decide on hating anywhere, just some little observations I made along the way, which we all do when we travel. In response to my vegan Kyoto video, 06305514 says, thanks for the video. I'm definitely adding some of these for my upcoming trip. Do you think ordering would be possible at all these places with no Japanese skills? And I think this is, practical and useful for anyone going to Japan or any other countries. If you're afraid to order food, make sure you have some internet connection and use Google Translate, but I always encourage people to try and learn some basic phrases. Japanese, I'm lucky to have a little bit more expertise and experience because of studying abroad and self-study. So some basic things you want to know. Point to on a menu what you are interested in and say, kore o kudasai, means this, please. Sumimasen means excuse me, good way to get help. These are some basic things you can just always know. How to order food at a restaurant in another country is very important, especially if English isn't as widely spoken as it is in other countries in the world. Good tip. Learn with Liam says, M from Cambodia. Nice video. Making me want to visit KL, Kuala Lumpur soon. Any chance Cambodia in your list too? At this moment, Cambodia is not in my list. There are so many amazing countries that I would love to visit. We're actually planning heading to Southeast Asia sometime in the near future, which we'll talk about more later. But I've heard good things about Cambodia and Angkor Wat, but at this time it is not on my official list, but it's definitely somewhere that is in my, relative sphere of interest, which every country kind of is at this point, which is so overwhelming, but hopefully one day I'll visit. Salmer3454 comments, does everybody need to make a video of every country they visit these days? Found the egocentrism off-putting. Now, does everybody need to make a video? No. Some people, I think it's useful to add your own information or own input, and YouTube has so many different options. So if you don't like a video or a certain person's input like myself, you don't have to watch. If you do, I love you and support you, of course. But yeah, there can be some egocentrism in everything we do. And for me, it is also a little bit of a career. So of course, I'm going to make videos on places I visit, but of course, try and be as helpful and entertaining and educational as possible in the process. Breezy Brazil asks, how many days do you recommend to stay in Kyoto? First timer, which I did respond to a lot of these questions, but I do think that they are good for maybe other people to hear besides just the person that commented. So how long do I recommend someone stay in Kyoto for a first timer? I recommend you spend at least 3 full days minimum if possible, and I recommend dividing one into the sort of east or Higashiyama Gion area, one day into Fushimi Inari and maybe doing some other things kind of related to that, and another day for Arashiyama and we're talking about the Monkey Park and the Bamboo Forest and Grove. If you want to see my top things to do in Kyoto video, this will be more helpful and give you more insight. Ultimately, if you have the time, I recommend spending 5 to 7 days to have some more rest time and do more things, not just rushing around from place to place to place, and throwing some time for exploration and just wandering around and getting off the beaten path a little bit, which is the best way to experience Kyoto in my book. Kyoto, Japan, that is. Now, this is a long comment from Edison Tan 8104 in regards to my things that shocked me in Singapore video. Which is, your last shocker shocks me too. I'm a Singaporean and I don't pick my nose in a public place. My family and friends have never done that before too. Are you sure the person your wife's seen picking his or her nose is a Singaporean? Which had 42 upvotes, so I definitely need to address this. And I did in the comments, but I'll do it for you guys here too, which is, am I sure? No, I'm not sure. This was just an observation, mostly by Vanessa. I vaguely remember it, but she's more perceptive on these kind of things, and she will constantly remind me if I'm doing anything gross or unhygienic as well. So, but yeah, I'm not sure. We didn't go up to them and ID them. They could have been Singaporean, they could have been a tourist, or they could have been a migrant worker, which many people are claiming, but I do want to kind of put a little bit of brakes on that, because while there is some truth, maybe people from other countries that aren't Singaporean have more practices of maybe picking their nose or doing other things in public. It's a little bit racist to just automatically assume just because they're not Singaporean or they're migrant or maybe brown by some potential means that it must be them that are doing gross things in public. For example, there's a stereotype that Chinese people are a little bit more, accepting to pick their nose, but I wouldn't just assume that they're Chinese descendant because they might have looked East Asian. If I did see them, I would assume they're Singaporean because that's the country I'm in. Although I do take the blame that maybe I shouldn't blame this on Singaporeans or say this is a Singaporean custom when it could have been a tourist or somebody else without for sure knowing. So I do take that with, you guys got me there, but I do want to kind of give that pushback as well, which was actually showing up a lot in the comments in that video. On to the next question. BHGen3904 asks, how cannot you have more likes? You are like a secret traveling tip. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already. But hey, I'm just here to do the best I can to give you guys helpful tips and create the best tips for you guys. Because when I travel, I do a lot of research on YouTube as well. So I always try and make videos that I think would either try and get me excited to visit somewhere or give me helpful tips that would give me the best possible trip. So thanks for the likes. Feral Pundit, which is a really nice name, asks, how much are you being paid by Chamber of Commerce to show them in such a good light? That's not reality. I guess if you're a far left extremist, that's a reality to my top things to do in Portland, Oregon video, where I never get paid by any location to promote it. I'm not that big, guys. I only just reached 10,000 subscribers, and I think they would probably try and give their money to more influential people online. I just give my honest takes, but I try and give a grain of salt and be, as fair and balanced as possible. So sorry, everybody. I'm not a far left extremist, and I am not being influenced by, sadly, any big institutions because they pay good money. No, I'm kidding. I'd always be real with you guys. On the real. All right, this next name is brutal, and the comment is even more brutal, which is Andrea Daly Utron Ebel 5894 asks, do they serve butt burgers there? For my video on the London House in Chicago. And my response, and I still, maintain it, is I'm afraid to ask what butt burgers are, but to my knowledge, they do not. So I'm really sorry to say that if that was something you wanted to eat. Another Japan-related question from Funny Josh Videos Z says, how long would you recommend me to stay in Osaka? I'm going this summer. Now, I would recommend you stay a minimum of 2 full days in Osaka, which is kind of pushing it. So that's like 2 days include full days, so that would include like arriving there and leaving, because I think you can kind of divide one day into the Osaka Castle and maybe either Shinsekai, which is a really cool area, or Dotonbori. And then one other day you could do the other one, either Shinsekai or Dotonbori, through at night, which is really pretty, and maybe some downtime and some exploration. Maybe you could go to Shinsaibashi. Maybe you could do a little bit of a day trip to some other areas, but I definitely recommend at least 2 full days, ideally maybe 3 or 4. In my opinion, if you're visiting Osaka in Japan. Carice Kim 7984 comments, I also feel like you would really enjoy Korea as well. Have you ever thought about going to Korea one day? Now, if you're referring to Korea as the entire place, I don't have any plans to visit the north because that'd be a little, intense at this moment in time. But South Korea, I actually have visited already. I'm really behind on releasing content to you guys, unfortunately. Maybe you have noticed if you follow me on other social media platforms, but Korea content will be coming in the future. I can't say how recent, but I'm really excited to start working on that because I loved Korea and have so many cool things to share with you guys. So don't you fret. Aman.m. says, isn't this Robb Stark's wife at 338, referencing Vanessa? And the answer is yes, it is, guys. I have a famous, well, not famous, maybe like C-tier actress as a wife. Or so you might think. I told Vanessa, well, she's stunning, so that's why. But anyways, I told Vanessa when we watched Game of Thrones together, because who hasn't seen Game of Thrones, that she does look exactly like Robb Stark's wife. And I think she's really hot. I think she's the hottest girl on the show. So that's definitely a compliment to Vanessa. She doesn't think so, so I always, argue with her and tease her, but I'm so happy someone else agrees with my observation. So thank you for that one. Alan HW2131 says, is that true? Ischia in Italy, an island, is more better than Bali, Indonesia island, in which I answered, and I still answer, it's really impossible to compare the two. They're so different. Bali is a lot bigger, where Ischia is a lot smaller. But if I had to choose one, I would say Bali, definitely, because it offers, well, I said it's impossible to compare, and I give a definite answer that Bali is better. But Bali, it has different sort of, like ecosystems and environments. You can have a really nice beach day. You can go to some sort of like tropical highland cool regions. You can go to some waterfalls. You can, like see dolphins. You can go to rice terraces, eat delicious food, surf. Bali has a a complete depth of beautiful and amazing experiences and people and wildlife for you to experience. And you can adventure on a scooter around the whole thing. Really nice, really fun, amazing. Spent 2 months there and I loved Bali. But Ischia is like one of my favorite places I've ever visited too. My wife Vanessa and I had a magical time. We actually like missed the ferry back, so we were forced to stay a night. And we did a lot of cool things, including a little bit of hot springs, some absolutely beautiful, charming towns with some walkable areas, a massive castle that's like connected by this little like inlet. So they're both amazing, but if you had to choose just one to visit in your life, I think Bali still is a little bit, yeah, like I said, more to offer. Laszlo Cook asks, is all of this vegan? The gelato, the burgers? In reference to my vegan Tulum video, which yes, it is all vegan. And I just want to add on to this and say, guys, traveling the world as a vegan is so easy. Of course, it's not as easy if you're not vegan, but there's no limits. I've always experienced amazing local food, and it is such delicious quality that sometimes I can't believe it myself that I'm eating all this amazing food as a vegan in all these places around the world, which people might think is impossible, but it's not by any means. Rue SQI, I don't know how to read that, asks, what do you do for a living? Which is a great question. My main source of income right now is teaching English online, which I've been doing for a few years. I really started to do it seriously since the pandemic and we started moving, and I wanted to do more remote online work for this reason of traveling. But also, of course, I do content creation. I'm trying to create it into more of a business and make it more of a lifestyle because, you know, it's my passion. It really is. And it is like the lifestyle I'm passionate about with Vanessa and living and on the road and trying to travel as much and create creative, informative videos and content for everybody out there. So hopefully, you know, by the time I reach 20,000 or whatever, it will be reversed and be flip-flopped for content creation being my main hustle. TJ Benefield asks, why are you saying Oregon like Oregon? Which I do need to answer to that. I've already touched upon my poor pronunciation earlier, but I swear to God, growing up in Michigan, everyone said Oregon. You know, maybe we see like Oregon, Toledo or something, which is a city nearby or a region nearby, but, or not Toledo, Oregon, Ohio, but I always heard Oregon growing up, so I never even second guessed it, but you know, people will not let me hear the end of it in the comments. So Oregon, I'm, you know, retraining myself, guys. I'm trying to become a civilized member of society, so give me some time. Thank you. Brian Doyle, 7146, asks, in respects to Denver, Colorado, can you spend a weekend in the city? I'm coming for the fourth weekend. Okay, the fourth weekend. Which, yes, you definitely could spend a weekend in Denver. If your main goal is to just see Denver, I think a weekend is fine. Of course, that's never going to be enough time to see a city in its entirety, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. You can check out the 16th Street Mall. Maybe you can go to a sports game. Maybe you can dabble a little bit in the nightlife in Lodo, and then you can check out some of the little neighboring suburbs, check out some parks, you know, such as like City Park is a really good area, and see some mountain views in the distance. But to really do like the Denver metro area, some hikes, Boulder, you want to spend at least, you know, like 5 days. And Colorado's just beautiful. I really haven't thought about it enough because we've been traveling the world. You know, it's, what's the word? I can't think of it. What's the word? As we're blessed, privileged. There we go. It took me a long time. Anyway, definitely can explore Denver for a weekend. Skinny PE comments, question mark. I don't know, man. Hey, I don't know either, man. Life's a trip. Who has all the answers? What's the meaning of the world? How was this universe created? I don't know, man. We have that in common, at least. Johnson's 1958 says, wow, that's so beautiful. How do you find these places, bro? In regards to the Coba ruins in Mexico. And the answer is YouTube. Just like the same reason you guys have found me, I found a lot of these places and destinations that I've dreamed about going to and had a strong emotional connection because of creators who are frankly bigger and better than me. I hope to get better as the years go on, but also looking at some research like blogs, maybe some like video series, or my own personal, you know, like anecdotes from growing up and hearing about places and having some curiosities and desires to visit. That's how I find these places, everybody. I'm no magician. Well, a little bit. Give me a little bit of credit. So moving on to Instagram, Camfield_photography, a good friend, asks, where are y'all going next? Love that, you know, Texas sort of speak. Love it. But where are we going next? Now we're next going to Thailand, which I'm so excited about. Thailand is like one of my ultimate bucket list destinations. But where are we going to be going with you guys next, aka releasing content on? It's going to be Peru. I'll talk more about that and give you more of a heads up about changing from Asia to South America. We did a lot more traveling in Asia, which we'll get back to, but I can't let these trips slide away. I went to Peru like over a year ago, so I need to, you know, release that to you guys ASAP. And this is a humdinger of a question from Magic Kales, another good friend. What's the most challenging part of traveling? How has travel changed since COVID, or has it? and how has traveling outside of the US given you a different perspective on the US? Now, this is an amazing question, and I can make a whole video response, so I'll try and be a little bit more concise than I've been for the earlier parts of the video. So the most challenging part of traveling is, I would say, the lifestyle and the money, because people ask, like, how do you travel so much? Like, you must be rich. No, we're not rich. We have to make it work for us. We have to base our life around it. For the previous year, I was living at my parents' house, guys, with Vanessa, which isn't easy to do as a married couple, but that was the way we could afford to do it because we weren't paying for a lease for an apartment and all these other travel accommodations. And now we are trying to travel a little bit less and budget, and the planning can be kind of brutal. I don't know how people do it who make videos while they're traveling and working, editing videos, and constantly releasing content as they go. That sounds to me like it would suck the energy and enthusiasm out of me while traveling, so props to anybody who does that. I support you and am in total awe and amazement, but that's how traveling is very challenging, honestly. Another challenging part of travel, no, I'm not going to get into that, maybe for another time. Next part of the question, how has travel changed since COVID? Number one, these are all kind of expected. Places are a lot more busy again, and prices are a lot more high. During COVID, flights to places were so cheap, it was ridiculous. We were able to go to some places for really good prices. I think we got round trip flights to Italy for $400, something like that. Absolutely crazy. And places a lot more busy, which is kind of cool. There's some perks to it because some places we visited were a little bit like a ghost town, like a lot of the places we visited in Italy. But also it's good because you have places all to yourself, but sometimes the charm and the atmosphere and the energy from locals and people visiting and exchanging like energy and information, language, conversation, yada, 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 is really magical. And of course, like that adds to how things are better since COVID is you also have less travel restrictions because that was kind of a pain. You had a limited number of places you could travel to. You have to make sure you're up to date on your vaccines, wearing masks everywhere. It was kind of a little bit more of a headache than travel can already be with, like, you know, trying to manage and book things and be on top of all the checklists you need to do before going somewhere. All right, so next part of the question, how has traveling outside of the US given you a different perspective on the US? And this is an amazing question. Yeah, honestly, I can like make point by point. So number one is that the United States, shocker, is not the greatest country in the world. Maybe in some areas it is with its economy or maybe like innovation and ways it's changed the world. But for like day-to-day living, America, shocker, its infrastructure isn't that good for like public transportation. A lot of the cities are not very clean. There's a massive like homeless and like mentally unwell problem in the country, school shootings, yada, yada, yada. Healthcare, I've injured myself in a motorbike on Greece, and normally in America I'd be terrified to go to the hospital because of like all the costs and pain. I went to Greece and they fixed me up for free. I just had to pay for like some of like the medication that I needed to use, but for the actual like operation of stitching up my knee, not a single penny was spent, which totally changes your view of the United States because we have the money and like the tax paying money and the government infrastructure to do these things, you'd think. But it makes you kind of fall out of love with the United States and recognize a lot of its flaws. But to end this long-winded answer, it also makes me appreciate some things about the United States. I do like the diversity in America. I think that's really cool. I think we have lots of problems with, you know, like our history and still trying to make sure that everyone has like a fair shot of success in this country. But compared to a lot of places, we're very like accepting, we're very progressive, and we're very, you know, aware of our own faults, which a lot of places you can't really be that way. In fact, in like America, you're viewed as being sometimes like ignorant or conservative or a little too what's the word, like fascistic, if you just like have an American flag outside your home. Whereas in other countries, we view it as a beautiful thing to like, oh, like isn't Greece culture beautiful? Isn't Mexican culture beautiful? Which it certainly is. But here, I think America does have a great culture of, you know, diversity, innovation, trying to accept people and be like a collective holistic society of not just European-centric people, but people from all over the world coexisting, eating different foods, and being able to exchange ideas freely. That idea of America is really nice, but obviously we do a lot of things pretty terribly, and it's maybe not the ideal country for a lot of those reasons. So that's my answer, everybody. Hope you can, you know, kind of chew on that a little bit because I'll still be thinking about this one when I go to bed tonight for sure. And moving on to TikTok, Rami Dabur says, how does it feel to be extremely handsome? Feels amazing. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. All I can do is blush and say thank you. Hey, the camera, you can do a lot of editing and filters. Well, I don't do that either, but anyway. I can't answer that. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really do appreciate the questions and support, and I really want to engage with you guys and create a community going forward of people who want to travel and experience life and, you know, just enjoy being alive, everybody. Enjoy friends, travel, family, and I love you all. Thank you so much. See you in the next video for Peru, coming to you next week. Peace.